So, hello, welcome, and good morning to our inaugural BIPOC student panel. This is a very special Welcome Week event that we've deemed as necessary for the incoming first year class, as we hope it can give a head start on how to navigate their university career. My name is Max Ghiabi, and I am half Haitian and half Persian, and I'm an incoming fifth year commerce student at the DeGroote School of Business. And I will be moderating today's 11 a.m. panel and 5 p.m. panel. I do want to note that this panel will be Black focused and that the views and thoughts of the panelists do not necessarily reflect those of their respective faculties and clubs that they're a part of. This is simply just a platform that we're using to share our truths and experiences while at McMaster University and to give much needed advice that we felt would be important to our first years. Today's agenda will consist of acknowledging the land that we are on. Then we will introduce the panelists. Then we will have questions. And then we will end it off with a Q&A. Now, to begin, despite some of us being located remotely and not on McMaster soil, it is still our home. It is important that we honor those we have set foot on this land prior to us. McMaster University occupies on the traditional unceded territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe, as recognized by the Dish, and with one spoon wampum. This wampum agreement dictates the relationship of peace, allyship, shared resources, and stewardship that we all must maintain with the land and each other. Now, on to introducing the panelists. And first, we have Joanna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Makutsa. I was born in Kenya and I grew up here. I lived in Mississauga and I just graduated from McMaster. I did the kinesiology program and I'll be pursuing my master's soon. So yeah, that's me.
And thank you, Joanna. Next, we have Musa.
Hey, everyone. So my name is Musa Gikineh. I was born and raised in Toronto. I just graduated 2020 in degree of commerce. I'll be pursuing my CPA. I was also a valedictorian this year for the group as well. So that was amazing. And yeah, I'm just happy to be talking to everyone today.
Thank you, Musa. And next we have Tamia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tamia Thornhill. I'm going into my fifth year of life sciences at McMaster. I will hopefully be pursuing my Juris Doctor degree in the upcoming years, and I have a double minor in psychology as well as justice, law, and order. I was born in Toronto, but I grew up in Barbados and Trinidad and then moved back. So I'm really happy to be here and talk to you guys today.
And last but not least, we have Kwasi.
Hey everyone, my name is Kwasi Adu-Poku, born and raised in Toronto as well. I'm going into my fifth year for kinesiology. I'm a member of the men's basketball team here, and I'm also a Wilson Scholar.
Thank you for that. I just want to let you guys know that the chat is open for you guys to talk, to discuss, to chat within like amongst you guys. If you look at the two, and then you can click and see all panelists and attendees and just chat with everybody. If you guys do have any questions tailored to us, I do ask that you ask them in the Q&A tab, which is right next to it, and we will answer your questions at the end during the Q&A. So now we will start with our first question, which is to just share with us a bit about your first year at McMaster. Joanna, can you take it away?
Yeah, so for me, I was pretty privileged. I'd never had any overt racist experiences. However, though, I did feel like I had to censor myself because coming from Mississauga, I was used to speaking a certain way, used to behaving a certain way. And when I came here, a lot of my classmates in kin didn't have the same mannerism or vocabulary. So I found I kind of had to minimize my language and my slang. And with that, though, I found when it would slip up, sometimes I would feel like I was people thought I was weird for speaking a certain way or using certain words, or sometimes they would just look at me as an entertainment type of thing. So yeah, I never had any overt explicit racist experiences, but just more microaggressions and just feeling like I couldn't be my full self around my classmates.
Thank you. So Kwasi, did you want to share as well?
Yeah, I could go next. Well, my experience was probably similar to a lot of people. Well, for me, I was the first to go away for school in my family. I came from a strict, African household. I even came to Welcome Week late because there was a church crusade my family did not want me to miss. But I remember even coming a few days later, a lot of reps, surrounded me and made me feel welcome, and it really motivated me to want to, help welcome people into the McMaster community. Like I said, I played for the basketball team, and I did not have any experiences with overt racism like Joanna, but I definitely experienced microaggressions. I was like introduced to the team as the Jane and Finch kid, and people would tell me years after that they were terrified of me, but I feel like when you get to know me, I'm not that terrifying, I think. My basketball team, that first year I was a minority, and there were a lot of people who, didn't look like and talk like me, but I didn't mind because, I grew up where my parents were telling me to get comfortable being the only Black person in the room, so that was something I didn't realize that, like, you shouldn't have to get used to, I guess. But yeah, and then although I felt busy, there were a lot of leadership opportunities I tried to take advantage of in the athletic community. And yeah, that was pretty much my first year.
Thank you, Kwasi. Now, Tamia.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first year was eventful, I guess you could say. I had the transition, obviously, like everybody else, from high school, and I kind of didn't take it well in stride. I kind of wasn't paying too much attention in classes and things like that. But in terms of my experience being a Black woman on campus, I was the only person within the friends that I made that was Black. So there was that, and I never really understood what that meant in my first year. I was kind of just all around my head in terms of getting used to university. But definitely echoing what Kwasi said, I definitely experienced microaggressions within my friend group that, I'm only to this day really realizing what they meant and how it was actually being relayed. In terms of opportunities in my first year, I really didn't get involved on campus a lot. I didn't know that there were a lot of things that were accessible to me, just being a first year student and then also being a Black student. So my first year was a lot of navigation, but I'm happy to where I am now, so.
Thank you. Now, Musa.
Yeah, so for me, my first year overall, I'll say it was a good experience, very interesting. I was lucky to transition with some friends from high school, so that wasn't too bad for me. That really made it, I guess, easier for me. Just like Kwasi, I am the first in my family too to go away for school, so that was kind of, hard. I didn't know what to expect going into first year. And then for me, the most, I guess, difficult was kind of finding community with Black folks. Just going in, especially the first thing I remember is going into one of my first classes. It was a math class. I looked around, didn't see anyone that looked like me, anyone that I could relate. And then I felt really out of place, I guess. So I sat down, even though through a class, just looking around, just say, hey, maybe I could find one person that's Black, you never know. And then I'm like, should I really be here? And luckily I did find someone. I saw someone, I'm like, hey, I'm going to make an effort the next day to sit next to them. And I did do that. And then we became really good friends. Even to this day, we're still really good friends. And that kind of gave me a sort of like comfort and to say, hey, maybe I do belong here. This is maybe something that, that I did make the right decision to come here. So that was kind of like my first year. And luckily I was able to, make some more friends throughout the time. And it was just a good experience.
Thank you. It makes me realize that representation really matters. Something I never really thought of coming into my first year. And that's something that I felt personally for me was lacking in terms of me even gaining confidence for me to even do half the things that I'm doing today going into my fifth year. So with that being said, going on to question 2, what Black clubs, committees were you introduced to upon your arrival at MAC? And are there any resources that you recommend to the incoming class? One thing that I do want to plug in for you guys, which is very, very important, is this year is the first year for a Black student mentorship program, and mentee applications are still open. So in the chat, I will plug in the application card for that. So it is a tiered program in which I will be a mentor, and like many other Black students will also be, upper year Black students will also be mentors, and will be having mentees like you guys come in. And also it's a tiered program in the sense where I get a mentor that's a graduate student. So it's beneficial for everyone. And we're really, really excited and really, really wanting everybody to join that. Now, Tamia, did you have something to share as well?
No, yeah, absolutely. I think just starting off before I plug the club that I'm a part of, in terms of resources, I didn't really know where to navigate. Like I said, in my first year and even in my second year, I really got involved in my third year of university. And it wasn't even with Black clubs, it was with my faculty, actually, is where I started. But I am now a co-president of a club called Black Space McMaster. And essentially this club is for Black women to come and feel empowered, collaborate, and share with people who look like them, who feel like them, who can relate to their struggles as well as their triumphs. So essentially this year in the club, it's our second year. First year was our inaugural year. So well, we're very, very excited. Things are a little bit different this year. We have a lot of events coming up in terms of our career and academic panel. So we're going to be reaching out to people from the community, specifically Black women in different fields, medical, political, you name it. We're trying to get a very vast variety for our general members as well as our executive members. And we're really trying to connect you to people who can explain their career path, their academic path, to give you a sense of mentorship as well as a sense of realizing that you may not be alone in the field that you want to pursue, that you can pursue whatever you want to. So that's essentially what we do at Black Space. And we're also trying to facilitate a community. Sometimes it's hard, specifically as a Black woman, to find your peers in such a vast community as McMaster. So I will put the Instagram in the chat, actually, for you all to see. And it's not just, you know, hitting us up if you're a Black woman. It's hitting us up if you just want to reach out to somebody and you want to talk about an experience that you think we could help on. And it's not just myself. We have a team of executive members, as well as it's also about who you know and who they can connect you to. So if you think, I don't know how to get in touch with this person, but you think we can help you in that pathway, we'd be happy to do that as well. So that's my plug for our resource.
Thank you so much for that. Joanna, did you have anything to add? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. For me, I'll answer your first question about which clubs I was introduced to. I was introduced to the Mac Africans Club, which is a club for Africans. And Mac Africans has an annual event called Afrofest, and they have like a committee towards it. So I was part of that committee. My experience in Mac Africans was pretty okay. It was fine. However, though, like when I first entered first year, the Mac Africans team wasn't, or the African community wasn't very diverse. It was primarily Nigerian, like West African. So I did kind of feel out of place, but it was still a good little introduction to be with people that were like me. Another club that I was introduced to, there's a Black sorority on campus. It's called Nu Omega Zeta. And like in sorority teams, like, or groups, like you rush, so like you do certain events like before, like for a certain period of time, and then they like select you to be part of the team. And so I rushed for a few events, but I didn't complete it because I needed to focus on school. However, though, I felt like sometimes with the girls, like I felt like sometimes I wasn't Black enough for them. So I feel like that kind of also made me like make it easier for me to quit and not continue the process. However, though, I feel like now the Black community at McMaster is more diverse and more welcoming to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Musa, did you have something to share as well?
Yeah, so for me, actually in first year, I was not aware of any Black clubs or anything. Like first year, second year, and halfway through my third year, I wasn't even aware there was a lot of different clubs that you could be a part of. Maybe that's on me. I didn't do enough like searching or anything. However, I feel like on campus there's not much of promotion towards the type of cultural clubs as well. So I think that kind of helped towards why I didn't really get to be aware of that. And I feel like there's more promotion towards, I don't know, academic clubs, like, I don't know, DCS. So first year, that was something I tried to, so the Group Commerce Society, I tried to be their first year rep. That didn't work out. So other than that, I wasn't really involved at all. However, in third year, when I was a part of, I was working at the McMaster call center, I met a friend and she invited me to Mac Africans, the same club Joanna just mentioned. So I actually, in fourth year, I made an effort to actually join them as their treasurer. We made a lot of new strides, a lot of events the 2019-2020 school year. So it was really amazing being a part of that club. And for that, we actually got really help. One of the resources that I wanted to plug in is the Equity and Inclusion Board. So the Equity Inclusion Board really helps with these cultural social clubs like MAC Africans. It really helped us with a lot of funding. We had an amazing event in February this year for Black History Month. So that was really amazing. So that's something I'd throw in the chat if anyone is interested, if you're part of a club or anything. It's a really amazing resource to be really reach out to. So that was kind of my experiences with clubs and the type of resources I have. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's again something that for me personally, I didn't really look for it. It's not something that was present to me. Something that we should work on as outgoing class is creating a board that has all the resources ready available for everybody. So they can come pick and choose what they feel like is best for them. Not only just resources on clubs, but also resources for mental health and therapy and stuff like that. That is something that we really need in the Black community. With that being said, what resources for mental health are available on campus? And do you have any advice you'd like to share with incoming students on the topic of mental health? Kwasi, did you want to start?
Well, before I briefly list two of my resources, the first thing I'd say is I definitely recommend finding ways you personally feel could just the best ways you could express and confide, whether it's in friends or whether it's in yourself, but just finding ways to get these emotions out. Because if I could reflect on tough moments in my life, tough moments that I've, seen my friends go to, when I look at my friends, they would not just deny these emotions, they would not just deny these tough times they're going through, but they'd also, not be willing to talk to anyone. They just really struggle in silence. So I'd say if I could give you advice, whether it's, journaling or finding some really good friends you just feel like you could get these emotions out to, that's something I definitely recommend. I'd also say I really want to destigmatize this idea of if I seek professional help or if I seek counseling, I'm weak. I feel like sometimes just admitting you're going through tough times and it might be a bit more than just finding friends to talk to, and I need to get some professional structured help. I think that's a sign of strength. It's something I did in my third year. But if I could just add these resources to you quickly, the first one I'd say is just the Student Wellness Center. If you are registered with your health card and everything, like it's free, like that's what I did. You go to a quick consultation meeting, they talk to you, they see where you're at, and it's just a really smooth, streamlined process. So I'll attach that link. Sorry, I'm getting a bit used to Zoom. I'll share that link here. And then this one I recently heard of, it's like SAS. If anyone knows more, they could elaborate. But if you're registered with a disability and you put it on the website through McMaster, you have the opportunity to receive up to, I believe, $4,000 in grants to get the therapy you need. So that, like I said, I learned about that recently. But if you are someone registered with some form of disability and may lack the financial resources to get the help you need, I just want to put this in here too, but I would definitely recommend. I already told some of my friends to do this, but I did the same link that I'm sorry for that. All right. There we go. Not the two first links are the same, but that third one, that's the next one I'm talking about. But yeah, that's all I'd have to say, to be honest.
Thank you for that, Kwasi. Joanna, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, echoing like what Kwasi was saying, your emotions do matter, and it is important to validate your emotions and to really understand what you're feeling if you do undergo anything that makes you feel bad, whether that's racism or just first year in general. I would say like use the resources that Kwasi has provided in the chat, but if for whatever reason that's not possible, talk to someone, talk to a friend, talk to a loved one, someone that you trust that you could confide in, they could understand what you're going through. And also, like, if you just are in an environment that just feels toxic, or you just feel like you can't handle it anymore, like you feel outcasted or targeted, like I would just encourage you to just remove yourself from that environment, and to just put yourself first, instead of constantly being targeted, but just to like understand and realize like what's going on, and to remove yourself from those situations.
Yeah. Musa, did you have anything to add?
Sure, yeah. So I would actually want to talk about kind of the virtual transition into first year. related to like mental health. We all know that obviously it's way easier to like the face-to-face communication is more richer. It's easier to I guess like make friends that way. I myself, and maybe probably some of us towards the end of the last semester this winter, we had to take some online courses, and in the summer I also took one. So I really found it hard, connecting with profs, connecting with friends, and it just maybe can take a toll on you. You might feel like, hey, I'm not really making friends. I don't know anybody. I'm not talking to anyone. Where can I get help? I would say just try your best to don't be shy to like message people and say, hey, have a one-on-one call, or maybe just hey, let's chat, or can you help me this way? Because really this virtual transition might seem really hard, but if you just take it with a grain of salt and just try your best, it'll really help with your mental health. And just don't try your best just to connect with people virtually, and just send them a message. Don't be shy. So that's kind of what I want to talk about with mental health, with regards to mental health.
Thank you, Musa. Tamia, did you have one last thing to add?
Yeah, just really quickly, I wanted to say that obviously, like Musa said, with this virtual year that's coming up, it's really easy to find yourself being isolated. But my advice would be a lot of things are going to be kind of on your own time. Professors are just kind of allotting slots of time in your schedule for you to ask questions, but really your lectures are going to be sometimes on your own time. And it can be a little difficult to handle, especially coming from high school where things are very, very structured and people are really handing out some instructions to you. This is more your own work and your own progression. So I'd say my big advice, I know it sounds cliche and it sounds small, but is get a planner. Or just utilize your calendar and put things in there, because it will be really easy to lose track of your assignments or your lectures. So I would say really, really just get a planner. And then the next thing I'd say is don't be afraid to take a break. It can get really overwhelming at times, especially in first year. You're navigating a lot of things, not just academics. And if you need a day and you wake up and you say, I can't do this today, that is okay. You know what I mean? You have your planner so you know when you can fit in another lecture that you need to watch. But take the day and make sure to give yourself a break. If you feel like you can't tackle something, it's better to take the rest and then tackle it with full strength later than trying to overwork yourself. So that's my 2 cents on keeping your strength up and your motivation up.
Thank you. Yeah, that's true. Something within, like, I would say our community, made kind of like how I was brought up. Mental health wasn't necessarily something that was brought up at all. And they had different methods for them to cope with certain things. And for me, those methods didn't necessarily work. So I didn't understand how to go seek for help until like way later, until I actually met people that were going through similar things than me, and they were giving me resources that I was like, what? And these are things that we like definitely want to instill within our community. With that being said, have you guys struggled at any point to find community within McMaster? What struggles should the incoming class be aware of? Tamia, did you want to take that away?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all kind of going to touch on this. So there's a lot of things to prepare yourself for, but I'll touch on essentially Black excellence versus the notion of them versus us. I think also in this, the social climate that we're in, it's very easy to say, forget everybody else. We just want Black power only and negate everything else. And I don't think that's what the movement is about. I don't think that's what we're trying to achieve. It's really about equality and making sure that we are standing in line with our fellow man, regardless of race. So I'd say on campus, or not on campus, I guess in this virtual semester that we're going into, keep in mind about how you can be present in your tutorials or in your lectures, making sure that you feel access to having your voice, whether that be reaching out to your prof or your TA one-on-one, or whether that be speaking up in your tutorial. I'd say make sure that you feel present and try not to feel overpowered. It's very easy, especially if you look on camera in your tutorial and you're the only Black person on camera. It's easy to feel lost in that. So I'd say my advice would be find ways to own your Blackness in your university community, but also don't negate. It's a fine line. Try not to negate another person while you're finding that. It's really about a symbiotic relationship, and you want to find that fine line. It takes a little bit of time to thread that needle, but I would say making sure that you understand the balance between equality instead of overpowering.
Yep, very true. Joanna, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I like what Tamia said, and also too, like, as you're trying to find yourself throughout McMaster or throughout your undergrad career, sometimes you may feel like you may not necessarily fit the description of what a Black person's supposed to be, and so you may feel like you don't, the things that you're interested in like disqualifies you somehow from being Black. But I would encourage you that, like, Black people, you know, we're not all monolithic. We're all interested in different things. You know, you could be Black and interested in K-pop. You could be Black and be nerdy. You could be Black and like not play a typical Black like sport. There's no like one agenda of what a Black person's supposed to be. But just like Tamia said, own your Blackness, own who you are, and don't let the stereotypical Black like narrative and structure define who you are, but rather what you're interested in, let that define who you are.
Musa, did you have anything to add as well?
Yeah, I think I touched upon finding community earlier, saying in first year we're going into classes. Related to that, for me, throughout like my time, like 5 years at Mac, there wasn't much of I guess, role models or prominent Black role models on campus, with the exception of course, Chucky, who was the MSU president. So that was really amazing. That was uplifting. That really inspired a lot of me specifically. But other than that, we don't really see a lot of representation. We don't see anyone who could be a role model on campus. That could be maybe a lack of, maybe not a lot of Black people applying to it, or maybe there's some underlying issue that we need to really like talk about. So that was something that I really struggled with. And also, just to touch upon, as like a Black male, I guess when we're meeting people, I was expected to kind of have that hood attitude, kind of like what Kwasi was saying, feel like she's from Jane and Finch or something like that. I would often have people, maybe if I go out, ask, hey, do you sell weed? Do you sell drugs or anything like that? So that kind of made me feel away and just say, why is he asking me this question? Why did he come to me? So that was something kind of I struggled as a Black male, and just a lot of times I would just brush it off and not really like speak about it, or just, you know, like reply in like an angry way or something like. So that was kind of some of the struggles I had throughout the years. And also, I guess when going out as well, just, I don't know, house parties or stuff like that, you feel like out of place. Like maybe you have to tone it down, kind of like what Joanna was saying. You got to tone it down, tone your Blackness down, I guess. And it was just, you just really feel uncomfortable. It dismays you from wanting to go out throughout the time. And that kind of, you know, takes a toll on your mental health, of course, just going back to that. So that was a lot, some of the struggles I felt like over time as a Black individual.
Yeah, very, very true. Kwasi, I'm sure as an athlete, you have quite of a strong opinion on this as well.
Yeah, I can go into that too. And just to add to Musa's point, like I said earlier, you know, being from Jane and Finch, I was expected to have this hood attitude, especially because I came here to play basketball. And I experienced those, you know, preconceptions for a while. And if you ever watched the show Everybody Hates Chris, it almost felt like a really watered down version of that. And I know for me especially, I consider myself a pretty friendly person. I know, you know, if people get to talk to me, people get to know me, like I could like vibe with them. But because I was so focused on, you know, basketball and, you know, getting good grades, because, you know, where I come from at home, like we see education as the key, you know, I wasn't actively seeking these friendships out. And being a basketball player, you know, I even remember a story in my first year where a big portion of the Black community, because of this preconceived notion that, you know, basketball players, you know, they're just cocky and they go to parties and they only, you know, they don't like their own kind. If you get what I'm trying to get at, I received a lot of backlash. Just even if I'm walking to the library, I'm just getting backlash from people, and I remember feeling a way about it. But, you know, as I started to meet more community, I started to see more people like me and, you know, the Black community, like I started making a lot more friends. And if I could talk about another struggle, I just, like, because I know I play basketball, but just this goes for anyone. know, we all come to university on our mission to just, at the end of the day, you know, grow, get our degree, get our goals. And it's really easy to focus on that and not take the time to actively seek out community. So I'd say, you know, it might be tough if, you know, like Musa said, like you might have to actively go to that other Black person across the classroom, but try to actively, you know, seek out that community while you're, you know, grinding and trying to better yourself. It might be hard, but it definitely does pay off in the long run, because as much as we're in university, you know, for that degree, we're also in it for connections and to grow and to feel understood.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm very happy for that perspective as an athlete, because you are someone who is regarded as like entertainment. So people would look at you differently compared to the not to say the regular Black person, but there's different struggles that you may have to go through. And that's like Joanna said, like we we may all be Black. Yes, we're all fighting for the same thing, whether that be BLM, but we all have our different struggles with colorism and class and just um all these other struggles that people need to realize that it's not like mutually exclusive, right? Um, See, for me personally, like I didn't get involved into anything until my later years, only because I just was not comfortable. I felt like people were looking at me different, and I didn't actually get involved into anything until my third year. And then I was a Welcome Week rep. I was a green suit, and then after that, I became the co-chair of a mentorship program in DeGroote. And all this happened within a year of me gaining my confidence from meeting one Black person. His name is AK. He's going to be on the next panel at 5 p.m. And basically, that's it. Representation. It was really, really important for me. And I didn't realize this until way later. I didn't see the potential that I had to use university to guide me into my path, right? So with that being said, with all these struggles that we go through, that not necessarily from like the white majority to us or other minorities to us, but like within, like there's problems within our own community, and we can address that. And to let you guys know that like toxic masculinity and uh the Black male ego, things like that are things that should be addressed. And understand that when you go into university, literally all that gets exposed, and all that may change depending on the people that you meet. So with that being said, what advice do you have for the incoming class, or what would you have done differently? Joanna, if you want to start.
Yeah, like I said earlier, don't feel like you need to fit this Black description in order for you to join a Black club. Now there's a lot more like Black clubs available on campus for students, which is nice compared to when I was in first year. There was just a few. And I feel like the Black community is more diverse. So it might be easier to find your people within the Black community. And I would say too, like, yes, it's important in whatever program that you're in to also join extracurriculars that will pertain to your career and build your resume, but also like try to at least get in contact with like the Black community as well, because it's nice to be with your own people and it's a nice change. But so for me, I feel I more pertain to like doing a lot more volunteer stuff towards my career and things in the clinical setting. And I wish I had joined more Black clubs, and I did gain that. I wish I'd had the confidence to join the Black clubs and to kind of be the exception of like standing out, of not being a typical Black person. And I would add for like advice is like, you may not necessarily experience racism here at McMaster or like overt racism, but I feel like it's still important for you to educate yourself on effective ways to respond to certain things, and to know like when to save your energy, when to engage. And also sometimes it can be a little bit awkward because you may be the only one in that community or in that area, and you don't want to be that one person who's making everything about race. But I still feel like it's important to gain your confidence and learn how to properly like address those things. And I would like to say, like, I would like to think, at least in my experience, the white people and the other POCs, like they may say something that's a little bit ignorant. And I feel like throughout quarantine and with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, like there've been a lot of misconceptions that have been addressed. So I would say, I would like to think a lot of times like they are willing to admit their mistakes, and like they're doing it innocently. And I would say it's okay for you to correct them and just let them know to do better, because I feel like a lot of them would want to do better. And so yeah, that's I would say that was my experience, and to not be afraid to, I guess, stand up for yourself, and to just yes, speak your mind and to be yourself and your own Blackness.
Thank you, Joanna. Musa, did you have any advice for the incoming class?
Yeah, just to touch upon what Joanna was mentioning, how some of the people that are not of color, how yeah, sometimes it's just ignorance. It's not like everyone is racist, or just they just heard something and it's just something that's a stereotype. So you shouldn't always take it that this person maybe hates me or is racist. Sometimes just ignorance, and maybe we could just teach them, and they're willing and they're open. And I kind of had the same sentiment, that to really like just get involved early, like in your first year. For me, I missed out on welcome week, just because I was kind of like working, I was busy, and I guess I kind of felt like this is not for me as a Black individual. Maybe why do I need to go to welcome week and do these type of things? So I kind of missed out on that, and I really regretted that, because that really gives you a lot of insight towards the school, a lot of opportunities. You get to learn a lot about that. So that was something I do recommend. So like kudos to all the attendees that are, part of this welcome week event. And just try to just build networks. This is something professors and other faculty members stress throughout in my years at DeGru. And I really realized that towards the end, in my fourth year, that's where I joined Mac Africans. I made an effort to join a Black club, because I wanted to be more involved with my people. And I also joined an academic club, just to bring have something for academics, something social. So that was something that I did together, and I really recommend, like, just don't focus on one type of club or one type of extracurricular. Just mix and match, get to know all different people. So it's really really important. And just try to find community however it best fits you. Don't try to do something just because people say do this. Just whatever fits you, whatever you think, just be you. Just try to find community that way. And just be yourself, try to have fun. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Musa. Kwasi, did you have any advice?
Well, yeah, I just go in a bit of a different direction for a bit, but I know we're in an online period now, but you're gonna be here for 3, 4, 5 years. So in the case that you do move away, I'd say to make time for your family, because I know as we're talking about finding ways to get involved, you might get a bit more busy and a bit more wrapped up. So calls might naturally decrease, but I tell you, in some cases, as the odd times or the times you may miss your family, like they're probably thinking about you the whole time. So I definitely recommend that. And if I can remember a quick story, I remember I didn't really go home much, especially with basketball. And I, went for a surprise visit for my family to see how they were doing. And then the next thing I know, like, I'm at a funeral because my aunt passed away, and I wasn't talking to my family. So I didn't really know what was going on. And like the one day I was the day at a funeral. So I definitely just say keeping tabs and just being in the loop. If I could go back more to school life, I'd say, it's okay to have different friend groups, but I definitely bring it down to, just people you really feel like you could be yourself around, because I could remember those conversations where, for the first time I could be passionately talking about anime, or like I remember Musa touched on parties after, but like I remember the first party I went to that wasn't just, Pong, it was like Afro beats and everyone's dancing, and there's this guy named AK, he's on the 5 p.m. panel, and he's just rapping, and everyone's, head nod. Like, see, everyone's smiling because they know, but, when you find that community sometimes, it's just a really good feeling, and yeah, that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Kwasi. Tamia?
Yeah, I'll end off by saying my one piece of advice is to network. It really, really is about who you know in life. Your degree, it's honestly, as we all are degree seekers or degree holders, it can get you so far. I will say, reach out to people. You may feel like, oh, I'm being annoying, but it just shows your determination. It shows your responsibility. And if you don't know where to start, I'm pretty sure everyone on this panel is willing to help point you in the right direction. I'll even just name a name that was a mentor for me. Her name's Dr. Juliet Daniel, and some of you probably heard of her. She is a phenomenal member of not only the McMaster community, but the health and medicine community across Canada. So I'd say it's really about who you know. Put yourself out there, get your name on the map. Sometimes it's a little bit intimidating to reach out to people who have like PhD next to their name, but it really, really shows your willingness to learn, your willingness to get involved, and that can take you miles away from your degree and open a lot of doors that you didn't know we're open to you. So I would say network. Don't be afraid to shoot a message, ask a question. No question is stupid. That's also a really important thing. If you don't know something, ask it. And if you're asking the wrong person, ask them to point you in the right direction. So I'd say be comfortable getting your voice out there, making a connection, and not everyone has to be your friend, but knowing people can help you for sure. So that's my advice.
If I can just touch upon that, what Tamia was talking about network, I think that is really great advice. For me specifically, an example would be going into my last year. In 2019, I applied to accounting companies a lot and didn't really get any replies or anything. And however, when I saw they had an event with McMaster, I made an effort to apply, went to their event, and I got to see their faces and they all got to know me and everything. And that was really amazing. I got to know them, they know me and they know my face. Once I left, the next day, I got an email saying that I was accepted to the next event. So, and based off that, that was just amazing. And then in the first year of school, I already got an offer from them. So that, I would say that networking event that I started with McMaster was the reason, the catalyst and the reason why I got the application and the offer. So that was something that really opened my eyes to say networking really, really matters. It really matters to, you know, like you said, we all have degrees, we all might have an internship. However, if you just know someone, you don't have to be friends with them, like what Tamia said. If you at least just know them, they know your face, they know what type of person you are, what you're interested in. It's very important to network. Can't stress that more than Tamia just said.
And I'd like to add to that too. McMaster does a very good job in providing events for these networking opportunities. A lot of job fairs, and even the Student Success Center. Like they also have a lot. They provide a lot of resources and events for you to build your resume, take LinkedIn pictures, or just specific events towards your program. So I would really encourage you to go to those once like we're in person, or like if they're on like webinars like this. And because for me, I found whenever I saw those being advertised, I thought, oh, it was lame, like whatever, I don't want to do this. But really, like it's for the advancement of your career, and like it's better to start off early and start building your resume and your career path. And just like Musa and Tamia said, to build that network, because you never know who knows who and who's gonna get you to wherever you need to go because you know someone else. So that's my advice for you guys.
Yeah, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent because what I'm about to say is going to tie into the last question, but get involved. Do as much as you can. Like anything that you see fit that you are interested in, don't do things just to do things, right? Because you have to put yourself into it. That's another like thing when it comes to classes as well. Like there are bird courses, but like don't rely on that. Like if you're genuinely interested in something, same thing with clubs, like get involved. Because if I were to look at myself back in first year, I just chose not to. One, I was uncomfortable, but also like I was saying one thing with the hiring process for green suits, because I am an exec on the green suits team, and there were barely any Black people who have applied. And again, we want to make sure we have diversity on the team and to have Black people on the team and stuff like that, right? But they just didn't apply themselves. And one of my mentors from my internship, she told me, she's like, Max, she was a VP at a marketing agency at the time, and she said one of my biggest problems is that Black people just don't apply themselves. But there's a way deeper root cause as to why. It's because of the fact that we have a stigma and there's things that are against us, and we feel like it's so much harder for us to attain these positions. So some Black people just don't try. They just don't do it, right? And the whole point about this is to encourage you guys to just create more faces for us, and for us to be able to feel more comfortable with more representation. And that's kind of the thing that we really want to say in terms of like getting involved in your first year. Infiltrate all your student body committees, all your committees and clubs. Like do as much as you can, get involved with anything, all of your professors and stuff like that. So relaying back to that, if you could tell your first year self one thing to look forward to during their time at McMaster, what would it be? Kwasi, did you want to start? You're on mute.
Keep doing that. Well, if I could tell my first year self one thing, it'd definitely be that, you know, you're going to encounter a lot of challenges. It's only natural, you know, but I really would tell myself to, you know, take a bit more time to appreciate and enjoy the wins that I go through too. I know a lot of times in life, you know, we're like it's kind of a recurring theme where we talk about this idea of us having a destination we're really working hard towards. But I feel that, you know, as we're on this journey, it's really important to take some time to, you know, look at a lot of the detours and look at a lot of the beautiful things we'll see along the way. Because one thing about undergrad, like for me, you know, I'm doing 5 years because I took a reduced course load for basketball, but you know, realistically, I should be graduated because 4 years went by, and I can honestly tell you it went by quick. And when I think back, there's just a lot of beautiful experiences I went through that I never took the time to really appreciate and relish in because I just had this big picture goal in mind. So I definitely tell you, you know, because a lot of older people will definitely tell you like, oh, I remember my university years, I remember my high school years. So like, look, like high school, you know, kind of went by for all of you now. So I definitely say take the time as you're going through uni to just really be appreciative, because the more you acknowledge grace in your life, the more graceful and enjoyable you will find things to be. So that's definitely like one thing I leave you with for sure.
Thank you. Joanna, did you have something to add? What would you tell your first year self? Something to look forward to?
Yeah, I would say, like, echoing what this whole thing has been about, essentially just getting involved. And I would tell my first year self to not be afraid to apply to things that may seem difficult, because those challenging like positions or opportunities are what grows you, and you develop your skills and you become more compatible to your peers. So I would say, yeah, to not be afraid to do things that you may think like you're not necessarily qualified for. But even just like the act of applying and practicing, doing interviews and things like that are still building yourself up and building your whole like profile and how you would approach a job. And yeah, university is a time, you know, you learn about yourselves, you're approaching your 20s, and going into early 20s, you start learning about yourself. I would say to not be surprised or limit yourself to what you're supposed to like or what you're not supposed to like, either as a Black person or for whatever community you feel you're a part of. Pay attention to what you like, what you don't like, and also pay attention to who you're happy with and who you're not happy with, and make a conscious effort to be around people who make you happy, who push you to do better, and who make you feel good about yourself.
Yep. Tamia, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say my advice to my first year self, and especially to you guys, is don't be afraid to find your passion. And that may sound a bit trivial, but I am a science student who's now applying to law school. And that can be a really daunting thing. Even for my first 2 years of university, I was like, I'm going to do this because it seems like the thing I should do, but I didn't love it. And only in my third, going into my fourth year, I said, I really want to be more of a member of community. And to me, that meant the law. And it could mean anything. It doesn't have to be one of those professions that people think is respectable or people think should be held to a higher standard at all. It can be whatever you want it to be. And sometimes it may not align with your major, and that is terrifying. But don't be afraid to embrace your passion, because you'd much rather be happy in your life in the 10, 20 years following than just making sure you tick the boxes right now. So my advice to you is make sure you find a way to embrace what you love and what you're passionate about, and don't let that deter you. It's really difficult. Trust me, it's easier said than done to grip that thing with two hands and keep going. But I would say try your best, if you find something that identifies with you, that really resonates with you, to go after it, because you will be very happy that you did in the end. There are a lot of things that feed into it, like finances. Obviously, there's a lot of things that tie into it. But if you're chasing something that you love, the chips will fall into place. You'll find a way to make it work. So that's my advice. Don't be afraid to go after the things that really resonate with you, whether it is your major or not. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Kwasi, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to quickly add to her point. I know for me, I'm in kinesiology, and you know, next year I'm in the process of trying to apply and get a master's in public policy and administration. So I definitely agree with the fact that you might come in, you know, with one goal in mind, but things can change. Your expectations, your values could align with different things, and that's perfectly fine. You're not alone. Yeah.
And I'd like to add too, like a lot of times I feel like we come in thinking like we're supposed to know what we want to do when we graduate. We're supposed to know exactly what's going to happen. And I would say like a lot of times you'll find like a lot of us don't know what we want to do. Like I personally didn't, I concluded what I wanted to do in my end of my third year. I'm going into osteopathy. And prior to that, like the only careers that were like advertised, because I'm in Kin as well, was like medicine or like physio. And so those are the only things that are there. But low key, there's like a lot of other jobs that are available to us that we don't even know, that people like they're not really advertised to us. So I would say don't be afraid to not know what you want to do, because we're still young at the end of the day. Like if you want to switch programs or something like that, like we're still young, there's still time, and don't let anyone judge you for it. I know oftentimes sometimes like in our like families, it may be frowned upon, but at the end of the day, like it's your life and you want to do what makes you happy, just like what Tamia was saying. You want to do something that will make you happy and will bring life onto your whole career and into your days.
Yep, very, very true. Musa, did you want to add one more thing?
Sure, I think everyone already touched upon everything. But yeah, I just want to say, just like I kind of everyone said, like we all come in with a set path. You might have like a overall goal, but it's important to really like step back. Just take a step back, look at yourself, maybe do a progress report. Do I like what I'm doing? Do I see myself doing this? Like it's important. Like it is scary to like change a major or something like that, but don't be afraid. Just, you know, try to seek help, ask questions. You can go like the guidance counselors and all the academic counselors, speak with them. So I think that's very important, because once you do that, like we might think, hey, this is gonna take me like 2 more years, 3 more years, but like Joanna said, like we're still young. Like me specifically, I just graduated, but I'm 25 because of my circumstances and my situations, and I just graduated undergraduate I just did my undergraduate degree. So everyone has different times. You don't have to graduate at the same time as someone you started with. It's okay to change your career path. I'll also just like to say, like, don't forget to just enjoy yourself. Just, you know, like just have fun. It's okay to have a little fun without guilt tripping yourself. Just explore undergraduate. This is the time to explore, really get to know people. Time really flies quickly, and your time at like McMaster is just gonna be really unique, a special experience, and like you just cherish it and make the best of it. Like it won't always be easy, of course, right? But you should just try. Don't let like any like barriers really discourage you. And I'd also encourage to really find like a mentor, someone maybe that's a little ahead of you, that can kind of give you some insights, that can let you know about that. So I think that's really important to just, you know, get maybe that'll give you like a little advantage in the future. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah, awesome. You guys said some amazing points. They really, really resonated. Now, moving on to the Q&A, we do have one question. And mind you guys, please feel free. Don't be scared. Ask us all the questions that you may have. It could be for anything. But the one question is, where is the club fair held? For me personally, I know in commerce, unless you guys wanted to add on for your faculties, if you guys know, if you don't, that's okay. But we will be holding for commerce in September. I am not sure for the rest of the MSU. However, what I will do is I will plug into the chat the club's website, the club's directory, and based off of that, you will figure out like the times in which everything will happen. Yes. So I will ask the rest of the panelists if you guys could drop in your IGs into the chat, so you guys can definitely like keep tabs with everybody, and we are here to answer any questions that you guys have, because we're here to support you guys.
Max, can I add on, sorry, to that first question?
Sure.
So for the Clubs Fest, I'll actually put the link in the chat. There is a Facebook page for MSU Clubs Chat, and they're running it on Instagram as well. So let me actually just get that. Sorry, I'm just gonna find the link for you guys on Facebook. So it's all virtual. So they are running it on Facebook and on Instagram. So you can find a bunch of your information there. I think on Instagram, the @ is just MSU Clubs, I believe. I'll confirm that, and I'll send that in as well as my own @ for sure.
Thank you, Tamia. There is a question for Kwasi, which is, what do you think McMaster can do to increase diversity and inclusion in their sports teams?
To be honest, this is a question I've been, like I told you, I've been thinking about since first year, but I've definitely been tackling over this summer, given a lot that's been going on. One thing I've definitely brought up, because I have regular check-ins with like the athletic director and the people that can make change, is the fact that one, there needs to be some form of, recognition for the Black community. And I suggested the form of like a Black History Month game, just so there could be a bit more community. But one thing I definitely see is just this idea of representation, because if you look at a lot of teams, I know with the men's basketball team, because of the coach Patrick Tatum that came in, there's a lot of Black basketball players, and it's really an anomaly. That's not really what you see. Like if you go to the women's basketball team and notice the past 20 years, me and my friends all did this. There's only like, I think 3 or 4 Black women on that team. So it's like a hard thing to tackle, but it's definitely something that could be addressed and looked at over time, so we could really gradually see this change. And it's not just so quick and forced that it almost comes off as tokenism. So I definitely say it's gradual. There was a Black systematic review where they looked at some allegations that the football team had, which I was a part of, where they really just asked us questions about our experience. So I definitely think the athletic community has been, taking the right steps towards inclusivity, towards diversity. But yeah, I definitely say just being aware and not putting things under the rug and directly addressing them are just like the key ways, and just hearing experiences from these athletes who have felt, underrepresented, who have felt like their voices haven't been heard, just giving them that microphone and not just giving them the microphone, but also, getting that pen and paper ready to listen and take action. That's what I could say. Oh, and I have one more point. I just remembered. One thing our school did that I was also a part of, we created this Black Lives Matter video through McMaster Athletics, and it was just the school making a statement. And the biggest thing with that was just through making this video to the public, it's almost a form of accountability, because now that, we made this video and put it out there, in the case that, our school, our athletic community is not holding up to that standard, people could go back to this video and, put us on blast and, really make sure we're doing our part to increase this diversity.
Yep. We do have one more question. Can non-Black students join the Blackstone Mentorship Program and Black Student Clubs? Thank you. All I can speak on is the Black Student Mentorship Program, and no, because that is tailored towards Black students. However, there is McMaster Archway, which I'm not sure. Still taking mentee applications. I could be wrong. However, I would check into that. As well as your own faculty. Here's another thing for everybody. Please, in the chat, tell us what faculties you're in. Talk to us. Tell us what you guys, what your fears are, what you're looking forward to coming to university, and just like every issue that like you feel like we should address to you guys right now, because we are here to help. And you can message us on IG. You can message us like privately, and we can help you out with that. Prior to you guys doing that, I do want to just wrap things up real quick. A huge thank you to all the panelists and everyone involved for giving their time and effort to make this happen. I want to give a special thanks to the Green Suits Committee, Dania, Josh, and Brody, and also Madeline for giving us this platform and aiding us throughout this process, for playing tech support for us. I hope that this session was really informative for everyone watching, and both this session and the next session at 5 p.m. will be recorded and posted on, I'm not sure which platform yet, I think YouTube, for everybody to watch, because this was tailored towards first years right now, but we do want everybody to be able to participate and ask us questions and stuff like that. So panelists have already plugged in their IGs, and I just wanted to say thanks again for everyone for giving their time. And we will still stick around. You guys are free to leave, but we will also still stick around to answer more questions or to help you guys out. But if not, then you are free to leave. Thank you, everyone.